What's up, guys, and welcome to another video. Today I have something pretty freaking exciting for you. This is the Glidr Arctic, as you can see, and it is a pretty freaking cool Balisong trainer. Now, this was sent to me by Glidr for a review, and the full review will be upcoming, but I will admit to you right now, I'm pretty impressed already. This thing has great build quality for the price, and honestly feels pretty good to flip, though there are some quirks about it, so you know, we'll cover all of that in the main review when that finally comes out. But for now, I'm just hanging out at my apartment complex, flipping it, and I'm about to go off and do some chores for the day. And I wanted to talk a little bit about flipping in public specifically, because I think this is something that a lot of people kind of need to consider when it comes to how you're going to be using your Balisongs, and you know, if you're going to be bringing them out in public, the way you should be doing that as to not necessarily not offend anybody, but specifically to cover your ass and not, you know, get arrested or whatever. There are a few main key things that I think are important when it comes to flipping in public. The first one being, obviously, know your local laws. I live in Atlanta, Georgia, and I know that in Georgia, Balisongs are entirely legal. Georgia has relatively lax knife laws overall, and therefore Balisongs are just really not even covered underneath their systems. So you don't really have to worry about them being legal or not here in Georgia. But that is a big issue if you, say, live in California or, you know, some of the other various states that have banned gravity knives and folders and Balisongs and the like. And so knowing your local laws is step one. And if you live somewhere where Balisongs are illegal, it's very important that the only thing that you bring in public is a trainer. It's a very bad idea to have anything other than a trainer in public, and even then, bringing a trainer in public is going to be a little risky, and we'll talk about that in just a moment. But in general, know your local knife laws, and absolutely make sure that what you're doing and what you're carrying is legal, because you don't want to get stopped by the police and asked about what you have and then have to either lose your knife or, in the worst instances, go to jail. That would be definitely not a good time. So, first of all, know your knife laws. Now, other than that, I think there is some important stuff. For instance, in any circumstance, this is in somewhere where Balisongs are legal, where Balisongs are illegal, no matter where you are, in public, there is a stigma that these knives have. And 90% of people have no idea what this is. You know, they've seen movies or they've seen media that has knives like this, and so they maybe have learned that they are dangerous or scary. But 90% of people have never seen one in real life. And so they don't know, like if somebody saw me flipping this and I said, oh, don't worry, it's a trainer, they wouldn't know what that means. I'm sure that some people could infer that meaning and say, oh yes, it's for training. But what people don't understand is obviously that means to us that it's completely dull and safe in almost every way. Most people won't understand that immediately from you saying, oh yeah, it's a trainer. So instead, you need to communicate visually to somebody that asks what this is and what you're doing. You need to communicate visually, if you are flipping a trainer, that it is not dangerous. And the way of doing that is not being like, oh yeah, it's a trainer. Because the moment you do that, like don't, if somebody walks up to you, don't be like, oh yeah, here, check this out. Because that motion is like a stabbing motion. People will not understand that this is safe and that this is okay. And so, instead of saying, oh yeah, it's a trainer, and doing that, that's like the worst thing you could do to somebody who's walked up to you and asked what this is. Instead of that, bring it closer to you. That's the first step. Closer to you is always better, because it's going to, you know, if anybody's being put at risk here, it's you, and so they don't feel threatened. And then the second thing you can do is say, oh yeah, it's a trainer, and grab the blade. That is the main thing that I do in any circumstance when I am flipping a trainer and somebody asks me what I'm doing. I'll be like, oh yeah, this thing, it's a butterfly knife trainer, and I'll grip the blade, because that that action right there is the fastest way to communicate to somebody that what you are doing is not harmful. Because anything that was sharp, obviously, you wouldn't be able to do that to. And so just by being like, oh yeah, don't worry, it's not sharp, or it's a trainer, or anything like that, but that action of immediately grabbing the blade to show them this is not a threatening object. This is a safe object. That's what you want to communicate to them. And if you hand it to somebody, maybe even grab it by the blade and hand it to them this way, just because that is immediately going to communicate all that you need. So visual communication is always superior to auditory communication. You can always say, oh yeah, it's not sharp, and then show it to them that way. But like the main thing is this visual communication of, look at me, I'm grabbing the blade and I'm not being hurt, is so universal and so instant that anybody will understand that immediately. And then the other thing is, in general, I suggest not flipping in public. And what do I mean by that? Well, in general, I suggest not flipping in an immediate space with anybody nearby. And we do, I obviously flip in relatively public spaces, and I flip in spaces for some of our videos that have people nearby. But generally speaking, we have a camera out, we have all this stuff happening, and so most people, I think, if they looked, would tell that what is happening is a production, and would understand that there's, stuff going on that is a little more professional than just a dude with a knife acting like an idiot. But if you are going to be flipping somewhere like a public park or something like that, or you're just walking down the street or anything like that, as soon as somebody comes within visual range, 90% of the time, I'll stop flipping. I will immediately take the knife and drop it like that. It doesn't matter what I'm doing. If I'm doing an aerial or something, I'll just stop flipping. If somebody comes within me, I'd say, generally speaking, 15 feet is the range that I'll have a person enter my personal space, and I will just stop, because there's no reason to continue at that point. In my opinion, it's very easy just to say, okay, I'm done, and stop flipping for a minute while people come nearby, because most people are going to be put off by what you're doing. That's very important to understand. So, generally speaking, when flipping in public, make sure that you're in a space where, if you're flipping around people, make sure they're people who understand what you're doing. They're people who know that, oh yes, this is a balisong, this person is good at flipping them, maybe they're your friends, something like that. Make sure that they are aware of what's happening. And then, on top of that, don't flip around strangers. Don't go to a crowded public place, like for instance, Blade Show. You don't want to be flipping at Blade Show in the middle of the line, right? That's a very bad idea, because you have strangers both like right in front of you and right behind you. And so there's these people that don't understand that what about what you're doing. And it doesn't matter if you're flipping a trainer or not in those circumstances, because you have to understand the outside perception is that they don't understand what this is. They don't know that a trainer is a safe thing that they don't have to worry about. And so by you flipping near them, you're already making them fear for, maybe not their lives, but potential injury. And so if they're around you and fearing for potential injury, that's a very easy way to lead to some kind of confrontation that you would like to avoid, I guarantee you. So in general, don't flip in close proximity to people, especially people you don't know. And, if you do flip in public, the first thing to know if somebody asks you is that. And if you do have a live blade, the other thing I will do is I will take it and I'll turn it like this to show that it's a live blade, but I'm turning the blade itself away from me, or away from the individual. I'm turning it towards me, because I don't want the individual who's walked up to me to feel like I'm pointing a knife at them. You know what I mean? So if I am flipping a live blade, I'll take it like this, or I'll close it and show them like that, right? And so those are some of the immediate steps that you can take to kind of reduce the overall fear impact you might have on somebody. And then you could be like, oh no, I'm going to ruin this the day I got it. Oh man, it already did scuff. No, maybe I shouldn't be flipping this. You want to kind of minimize the fear impact you have on somebody, because as soon as you start, as soon as somebody is afraid of what you're doing, you've already lost them. So you don't want to have that impact on somebody. You want to reduce that impact as much as possible. And so being like, oh yeah, This is what it is. It's a balisong. I can explain to you the history of it and what I'm doing with it. Would you like to see me flip it? Like, you know, you can tell them what it is. And then, after you've established that, then be like, oh, would you like to see some tricks? And so that's a much healthier way of doing that than just flipping in public and assuming that people won't freak out, because that's generally a bad assumption to make. Oh no. Oh, I hit the camera. That's the first time I've done that, but I don't think it'll be the last. You can see I knocked off the wide angle lens, so this is what I'm using so that you guys can see everything a little bit better. So if I just, there we go. Wow. All right. Well, that's pretty much it for this one. I'm excited for the review of the Glidr Arctic coming up soon-ish. We have so many knives in the works that we need to review and so many videos coming out. We are working on them all very quickly. We've already filmed the AliExpress video, and I'm currently editing that, so that'll be coming out soon. But yeah, our patrons do get videos first. Right now, there's no extra videos for patrons because we haven't released anything, and I haven't been able to edit it yet, but just know everything is in the works, and we are producing as quickly as possible. So yeah, I hope you guys have a wonderful day. I know I am. I'm going to go get some lunch. Peace.